What's up, guys? Welcome to a new segment on the channel called S.A.F.E, which is simple advice from experience. So basically I'll be talking about guides and stuff, but they might not be as in-depth as other people's, but it's just stuff that I've gone through personally and I find to work. So here's the first one. What is up, YouTube? Today I want to give some general tips for fighting Alatreon. It's been about 2 days since it's came out, and I know a lot of different rumors are going around, describing like different ways to beat it and all that. So I kind of want to go through pretty much the things that I did to manage to solo it and stuff like that. So yeah, here it goes. As Capcom mentioned, you're going to want to use elemental weapons. If you go physical, you are definitely not going to beat it because you got to reach a certain damage threshold with elemental weapons on it to trigger it falling over. If you can't do that, its special move, the S.A.F.E Judgment, is definitely going to kill you. Alatreon likes to fly almost as much as Kushala, so if it's not enraged, definitely flash it or clutch claw it to get it out of the air, because it's hard to land hits when it's up there. Dragon Blight is going to be the worst thing to deal with during this fight, so I recommend either bringing a bunch of null berries, having a lot of dragon resistance, or some kind of skill that negates Blight. Because if you don't have your elements, you're basically may as well not be doing damage to it. When you break the horns, it will not be able to shift elements, so make sure that whenever you break the horns, it's going to be on an element that you can do the most damage to. Otherwise, don't break it and let it switch to something else. Also, a side note, you can only break them after it's shifted elements. So between the time it shifts and before it does the S.A.F.E, that is the time that you need to try to break it. If you don't do enough elemental damage to it in time, it's going to use the S.A.F.E Judgment, and you are pretty much guaranteed to die. I've not seen anyone survive it without doing that damage first. But if you do enough damage, you're still going to want to probably put down a health booster, definitely get a Stera Jerky, and if you are playing with friends, have friendship level 1 to heal them as well and make sure nobody dies. You can't Farcaster, you can't iframe it or do anything. Literally the only way to get through this is to deal enough damage to knock it over and then have some sort of healing set up for when it uses that move. So the last thing I want to mention for this guide is going to be the type of equipment used to fight it. I would go more in depth with like the moves it uses, but I feel like that's something people should experience for themselves. And there might be more in-depth guides out there. This is just kind of like what I think is necessary to know to beat it. So, it's just kind of my point of view. But anyways, the set that I used to defeat it is called, well, I just kind of called it Alakill Confirm, but basically it's a mixture of Kulvtaroth and Rajang with the Kiar weapon. Just needed to make a brief intermission, so basically the 3 consistent elements for fighting it are going to be water, lightning, and dragon. But if you feel comfortable locking it into an element and breaking its horns, then fire and ice would be pretty good. So just wanted to throw that out there. I would probably say you'd need at least 500 elemental if you want to beat it. I'm at 670 now because I'm also going with like critical skills and a bunch of other stuff. But this is pretty much the set that I used to beat it. So if you want to take a look, these are pretty much all the jewels I have. I really found Phoenix to be useful for this fight since you get blighted like every other second. And honestly, this is probably isn't the optimal set for it. Actually, Alatreon's own weapons and armor are really good for it, but for those who haven't gotten that stuff yet, I would say go with anything that gets your element up Definitely have more dragon resistance than me because that's like the one blight you don't want. And then, yeah, pretty much just pick whatever you have to maximize that element. And if you don't have something good enough, I would probably wait for Kulve to come back so you can farm that. But yeah, that's pretty much it, I would say. Other than that, just keep fighting it, learn its moves, and I'm sure victory will come your way. Thank you for watching.